So here, on the other side of the station, and across this wide avenue, is the neighborhood of Recoleta, which is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Buenos Aires, along with Palermo, Belgrano, estos. There used to be like this really cool bar around here called El Alamo. It was owned by an American, and they would just serve you like these giant pitchers of beer here, and there was like no other bar like that in Buenos Aires. I remember watching all the World Cup games in 2014, man. It was really fun, but I think it's closed. It used to be around here, right off of the Avenida Cachal. Maybe the Argentinians can confirm if that bar still exists or not. In the 1980s, Argentina was going through inflation. Argentina almost always was going through inflation, and that decade was no exception. The 90s were a new era. It was a time of free market experimentation. You had a new president at the time, Carlos Menem. And Menem's idea was to create el plan de la convertibilidad, the convertibility plan, which, or el uno a uno. This plan pegged the Argentinian peso to the dollar, 1-to-1. So almost overnight, Argentinians basically had a currency as strong as the US dollar. And the 90s were good. They were boom times. Argentinians were traveling around the world. The United States was giving Argentinians visa-free access to the country. Times were good. However, this peg, as it came to be known, the famous uno a uno, was not sustainable. It was built on faulty economic science, and by the year 2000, because of basically overpriced exports and a variety of other factors, it crashed. The Argentinian economy crashed, and really hard. You had what would be considered the Great Depression of Argentina, which lasted roughly from 2000 to 2002. And so the people here in Recoleta, in these fancy shops, nice buildings, expensive apartments, many of them took a huge hit to their savings. Some people lost everything. And that event has scarred the Argentinian consciousness ever since. And they just still have not been able to avoid this inflation trap. Alright, so anyway, we're back at the Retiro train station, and I think it's time to finally take the train. We got a little bit off track there. We've got to get to the northern suburbs so I can show you the richest neighborhood in Buenos Aires, I think. About to leave right now. Sí, barbijo. Gracias. Basically called the Tigre line, and these are basically all the northern suburbs of Buenos Aires, and our eventual target is San Isidro, which is basically like the classic old money neighborhood of Buenos Aires. Okay, and we have just arrived at San Isidro. Once again, riding public transportation in Argentina is extremely cheap. This train, which was a 30-minute ride, which just brought me out of the city and into the northern suburbs, cost about 30 cents. Alright, so this is the district of San Isidro, which apparently per capita is still the richest place in Argentina. It's full of old money types, and I'm not sure how willing they're going to be to talk to me, but we're about to find out. Hola señor, una pregunta.
Sí, querido.
¿Estoy acá?
Sí.
Okay. ¿Dónde está la parte de San Isidro con los Ferraris y las mansiones, casas
Para
grandes?
conocer,
No sé.
mirá, yo te la hago corta. Si querés, son los lugares para poder tomar algo, por Libertador, ahí, por
Libertador.
Acasuso.
Hay unos buenos
Hay
bares,
chicas
o sea.
lindas, ¿viste?
Bueno.
Eso, vos sos un pibe que tenés pinta, más o menos.
Sí.
Vos podés llegar a charlar chicas muy bonitas a la noche, pero después no hay nada. Si querés ir a la catedral, sí. ¿Viste?
Muchas opciones. Muchas gracias.
¿Me entendiste?
Sí, no.
No tenés nada para moverte, y después tenés el puerto de San Isidro, que lo remodelaron todo, si te interesa eso,
Sí,
el puerto de San Isidro,
sí.
pero es para ver los barquitos.
Ah, ok.
No hay algo que te deslumbre por ahí. ¿Viste? O sea que otra cosa no hay.
San Isidro ha cambiado mucho en los últimos 30 años.
Sí. Y hay plata para lo que es realmente, digamos, lo que es para los, como nosotros, como somos los habitantes, digamos, ¿no?
Sí.
Están mejorando las veredas, todo, pero el San Isidro, digamos, típico, tradicional de lo que fue otrora, no, olvidate, no es nada.
Ah, ok.
No tenés. ¿Vos de dónde sos?
En los Estados Unidos.
¿Estados Unidos?
Sí.
Ah, mi hijo vive en Portland. Es biólogo molecular.
¿Portland de Maine o de
Portland,
Oregon?
Anda de Alaska.
Alaska, ok.
Claro,
Bueno,
anda.
sí.
Pero extraña, ¿viste? Nada que ver esto, Argentina, con lo que es allá. Extraña todo, ¿viste? Es otro mundo. Es otro mundo acá ahora. Los chicos no van al colegio, una deserción bárbara, no es como allá, ¿viste? Pero del San Isidro de antes,
Okay.
y todos los locales para comer.
Ok.
Good luck.
Muchas gracias, señor. Yeah, man. As you get an Argentinian talking, they will never stop. You really have to love the street names here in Argentina, and in Latin America in general. This one is called the Heroes of the Malvinas, or the Falkland Islands. And this is basically referring to the people who sadly died in the war with the UK in 1982. And contrary to what most people in the UK might think, most Argentinians actually really don't care that much about getting the islands back. And I think they're realistic that they're never going to get them back. But the government will still send out tons of propaganda, stuff like that, saying, Las Malvinas son nuestras. You know, nationalism will always work well when dealing with economic problems. And no country has economic problems as often as my dear Argentina. Hola, señores.
Hola.
¿Todo bien? Tengo una pregunta. Me dicen que hay una zona peligrosa de San Isidro. ¿Dónde queda? Para que no entre por accidente.
Para abajo.
Para abajo, en esa dirección.
No, más para allá, para abajo.
Ok, gracias.
Para el río.
Para arriba. Gracias.
¿Puedo pedir un favor? ¿Puedo sacarse un
Sí, sí, sí. Desde acá. ¿Quiere que me acerque un poco?
Ahí.
Igual. Ok, 1, 2, 3. Creo que está listo. Puedes mirar.
Muchas gracias.
No, para nada.
Excelente.
A ver.
Gracias.
Por favor. Over the past 30 to 50 years, and especially after the fall of the last dictatorship in Argentina, there's been a kind of great social migration into Buenos Aires, similar to the one that happened in the 60s in the United States, in the urban centers like New York, Detroit, and Los Angeles. And this was very similar. It was people coming from the interior of Argentina, like in the north, Jujuy, or in the west, Mendoza, these areas. You had people coming in search for opportunities. And the majority of these people were either of indigenous background or of mixed background. And thus, they came to a city that at the time was basically 95% European, or people of European descent. Argentina and Buenos Aires is extremely unique in Latin America in that regard. And to this day, if you go on Wikipedia or different sources, they'll probably tell you that Argentina is something like 90% white, but they'll also say that they're not completely sure about that. Well, I can tell you for sure that that's definitely not true. The country is definitely more mixed than it's made out to be. All right, after a long 1-hour train ride back to Buenos Aires, that granted only cost 20 cents. We're now back, and it's getting kind of late. I'm a little bit tired. It's my last day in Buenos Aires, so yeah, I think I'm just gonna go back home and sleep. So until next time, hasta luego. Es verdad, es verdad. Welcome. It's my last night in Argentina. There's only one thing you can do. Nah, man. Christmas in Argentina is just not the same, you know? I think I'm the only American in this entire city at the moment. And, wait, hold on, wait. I know this guy. Is that Ace Live? Oh, whoa, damn. We definitely didn't meet already. That's wild. What the hell are you doing in Argentina? Okay,
You picture in Jamaica or something right now?
I know, yeah. I was in Jamaica, but now I'm in Argentina. Yeah, I touched my last night. It's crazy. We gotta do something crazy.
We gotta do something crazy.
Yeah. Vamos a boliche, vamos.
¿Estás filmando?
Sí, no, es un video de la vida nocturna.
Estados Unidos es el cumpleaños de ella.
Decir saludos a los Estados Unidos.
Estados Unidos hoy es el cumpleaños de la serie, cumple 30 años.
Ah, qué bueno.
Saludos a
30
todos.
años, pensé que fue 20 años, pero bueno.
Ok.
Ok, bueno.
Una amiga.
Es un amigo mío.
¿En serio?
Sí. También es de los Estados Unidos.
Lo veo filmando video ya, el amigo.
Somos los dos locos.
Ah, sí, son los dos de Estados
Sí,
Unidos.
somos los dos celebridades.
Ah, está bien. Pero que viniste acá.
No,
Ya había venido a este bar.
A este bar. ¿Sabes? La última vez que vine a este bar fue hace 10 años. Esa fue... ¿Quieres estar en mi video de YouTube?
¿Quieres fumar marihuana?
Sí, cómo no. Qué lindo estar Argentina, ¿no?
Thai.
Thai, okay.
Thai. Very, very, very. It's not Miami, okay? It's crazy.
Es
It's Argentina.
San Borrón, es el ladrillo de Paraguay.
No, it's not Paraguay. It's flour, but
Flour, okay.
feel that ground.
Okay.
Desgasted.
Okay.
Desgastado. No,
Desgastado.
desgastado.
Bueno.
Try. La lata de espinaca de Popeye estaba fuerte porque la espinaca tenía mucho hierro.
Sí. Pero vuelvo más tarde.
Dale.
Si vas a estar acá toda la noche. Alright. That was plenty of fun for a Wednesday night, but it's time to go somewhere else. De los bares, Buenos Aires. ¿Qué recomiendan?
¿Qué recomendamos? Este bar lo recomiendo siempre.
¿Recomiendan este bar?
Sí.
¿Cuál es la
recomiendo.
diferencia entre Seattle y Boston?
La calidad de los tragos es muy barato y el trago es bastante bueno. La comida también tiene papas con cheddar, tacos, mozzarella.
Solo tengo una pregunta. ¿Laborás acá?
No, pero vengo siempre.
Bueno, verdad
vengo
que
siempre.
Yeah, what's up? Oh, hell no, these guys coming to me. Oh, they got me.
This might be an alternate version.
Trying to get in there or something?
This might be an alternate version of the game where you have to be on some kind of substance to fully enjoy this. I'm not sure.
Oh, this is the mushroom bowl right here. Yeah, and so
Venga a pasar por un momento. Eso es como la guardia. Oh, okay. I gotta go in here. Oh, all right. It's like a secret passage room. Oh, Che, ¿dónde estamos? Hace un montón de frío, la puta madre. ¿Dónde estamos? ¿En Ushuaia? Taxis amarillos. Esto. Estamos en Nueva York. Until next time, Argentina. Ciao.